Welcome to this episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us. We are in part three of our three-part series where we're diving in to sex crimes that have occurred and are occurring, how people in power, such as elected officials, whether they're in London or whether they're here in the United States in Washington, D.C., who are voting one way or another, who are being paid by the taxpayers, their salaries, their security details are being footed by you and I. For talk, I being in the United States, you could be in one of 50 countries that we have awesome support, and just want to say thanks to all the supporters that have been with us from the beginning, and all those supporters who just are joining us today for the very first time. Welcome. We have a lot of content, a lot of episodes, over 160, over 160 episodes, and there are topics and guests for everybody. So take a look, subscribe, follow, like. We're video, TV, we're audio. So whichever way you consume content, you stream content, Voices for Voices has been there, is there, and will be there. So we would love to have you, and share with some friends. That's always encouraged too. So yeah, this is the third episode, the third part in this series, which thought we would have two, and then we got working, we got sharing, and here we are, 3 minutes plus into the part three of this series that we're talking about. And so let's jump right in. David and Amanda Solomon, we interviewed them last year. You can check out those two episodes. I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head what numbers those are. But David was trafficked by a person, a network, in power positions. And I believe it was a person and people in the church. And I believe that is one of these mega churches, who have hundreds and thousands of parishioners, who have influence day to day, weekend to weekend, over a lot of people, and a lot of people are devoted to this particular person and their network, and trafficking. David talked about how even law enforcement there could be, bad people in law enforcement. And because, say, let's quote David. He said that the person in law enforcement, he told, and his mom told, that this individual chloroformed him, which is a way to subdue somebody, I guess. Never use it, just hear it and heard it in David's case. And law enforcement didn't do anything because these members of law enforcement said, nope, this is the pastor at my church. I'm not gonna investigate it, basically. So luckily, David was able to escape, but his abductor, they're looking for him. And so his security, his family's security, everybody's security as an individual, as a human, is of the utmost. But for him, I know him and his wife, Amanda, they're concerned. They're concerned that they'll be found. And the people specifically with David, they talk about, well, people don't get out alive. So what does that make you feel like when you hear that? Makes me awfully scared, fearful of anybody who's in that position and that knows that. So we don't know what it's like. We haven't gone through it ourselves as an organization, but man, David, what he's gone through, and Amanda, and members of their family, it's just amazing. Not in a good way. So we have person in power, somebody's head of a mega church, who is one individual that has a network. David mentioned, between the United States and Canada. He believes he was in Canada for part of the time he was being trafficked. In our first two episodes, we talk about elected officials, people in power. The second part, we talked about a medical doctor who is hopefully being held accountable, after taking advantage of 10 minors, one reportedly taking their lives based off of the instructions of the bad doctor. And so here we are. We're part 3. So we're gonna get to some more information. So let's get going. Okay. So again, we're gonna continue this theme of people of power, crimes, sexual crimes, rape, in some cases racketeering, and that's how we're gonna go forward. So people in power. So let's shift gears and let's talk about the John Fitzgerald Kennedy assassination on November 22nd of 1963. That was in Dealey Plaza in Dallas, Texas. Reports were the motorcade came around the corner of a particular street, and President Kennedy at the time was assassinated by Lee Harvey Oswald, who, through investigation after investigation, committee after committee, the most famous is the Warren Commission, which people in power investigated. They investigate how they wanted to investigate. Hopefully, looking at all the facts and being transparent, not withholding information to protect people, because that's how things get covered up, and that's how trust in society, of individuals, of agencies, of elected officials, non-elected officials, that's where all that really comes together if there's no transparency. So the transparency that we as United States of America citizens or people living here have been told was, and has been, Lee Harvey Oswald, he acted alone. He's the lone shooter. He was posted up at the, I'm not sure that exactly the name, but the school depository, library depository, where allegedly he had what he needed to take out and move forward with that plot to try to assassinate John F. Kennedy, JFK, as referred to. So is that really what happened? Or are we being fed lie after lie after lie? Is information just being held somewhere? Whether, we think of like the deep state, these career individuals working for the government that are really running a lot of government, which we're promised that, the new administration, they're gonna cut waste, and people are gonna be held accountable, and there's gonna be transparency. So we can hope that starts to occur. So we have a president that was assassinated, according to the Warren Commission, by one individual, Lee Harvey Oswald. There's all these documents, these documents. There's been rumblings that was the CIA involved, was the mob, the mafia involved. Who really, who did this, and who was behind the scenes? How did this all play out? So again, we have a person in power, JFK, gets assassinated, so he did not survive. And then we have what some may say cover up, not being forthright with information of the story of what actually occurred and who was behind it and why they were behind it. So we get to, again, the office of the president. So since John F. Kennedy was assassinated, president after president after president has gone through their administration, alluded to there being some classified documents regarding the assassination. And that information has just never been shared with the general public. In 2016, say a non-DC person, Donald J. Trump, was elected, and learning the ropes of DC. The head of the CIA at the time, Mike Pompeo, had conversations with President Trump. Does Trump want to release these documents, this information? And CIA Director Pompeo talked President Trump out of releasing that information, with reports being that there could be individuals that are still alive that would be impacted by the information were it to be released. So whether they're in the government, whether they're not, for whatever reason, Mike Pompeo said, no, it's not in the best interest to do it. And then so Trump went with what his CIA director was recommending. Well, in this Trump administration, having a Kennedy being in President Trump's cabinet, he vowed that he's going to release that information, making it sound like whoever was alive that was going to be impacted potentially has passed. So I don't know who that is, who they are. We really don't know what to believe. But we have people in power, right? So the president can make that determination and decide, hey, we're going to release these documents or not. Well, in the 2024 election cycle, there was at least one solid, but 2 total assassination attempts on Donald Trump. And we were given all kinds of information where the Secret Service, they couldn't put somebody on the roof because the roof was slanted, and we're talking about Butler, PA, and we're also being told that it was outside the perimeter of the Secret Service was to be taking control of. Whereas we know for a fact that the person that attempted to assassinate now President-elect, going to be President Trump, where he was caught on many individual cell phone cams, and people kind of shout out, like, hey, there's somebody there, take a look at this person, and even I think to the point where he was on the roof with a gun shown, direct line of sight, and the Secret Service says, oh yeah, let's go put our protectee out there. I find that just not truthful. So again, we talk about people in power and certain information and all these things that happen or don't happen. People that are people are protected better or worse, less staff. Like, oh well, sitting president of the United States has the highest level of protection, and then down the road, down the line, the VP, vice president, and you work your way that way as far as levels of protection. People in power in the music industry, P. Diddy. Financier, Epstein. Former President Clinton. Epstein was held in prison. He was held in prison, and he apparently, allegedly, died by suicide. But the cameras weren't working, and one of the staff was asleep, and there's all these things of not adding up. Like, okay, one thing, shame on me. Two things, shame on me. Three things. And so this was in New York, Manhattan, that this, when Epstein apparently has this black book or this list of people who attended his parties and his trips to Epstein Island that he had, and flying people, and so there's sex crimes against their minors. And there was, oh, by the way, Epstein was a billionaire, and President Clinton was a former president, where there are pictures of him getting a back rub from an individual who was allegedly abused by Epstein and his friends, clients, however they're connected. So as we sit here in that case, again, in New York, the P. Diddy, Sean Combs, the music mogul, we'll call him, he's also now in custody in that same jail in New York. And he also apparently has a list of people that attended parties, and some apparently were on videos, and some are in photos. And people are talking about leaving the country, leaving the United States when Donald Trump has taken office and takes office. What's that really about? Is that about a president? Well, Trump was president before, and these individuals weren't moving. Like, people are actually moving, not just talking about it. They're moving. So why? Are they on the Epstein list? Are they on the Diddy list? Are they on both? What is it? People in power. The district attorney, who, again, if you do the crime, you should do the time. District Attorney Alvin Bragg takes a misdemeanor that the statute of limitations ran out, bumped it up to a felony, and is doing this this case with Donald Trump, whereas like the average person, they wouldn't go to these links to try to have this person, uh, going through the legal process. On top of the fact that Alvin Bragg is and has let violent offenders, once they're arrested, they'll get right back out on the street. Oh, I promise I'm going to show up for my bail or for my hearings. Okay. Well, Alvin Bragg is in New York. He's a person in power. You have Epstein, Diddy, and now you have this Luigi Mangione, who allegedly assassinated uh, the CEO of United Healthcare early morning hours. And so he was extradited. He was found in Pennsylvania, extradited to New York. Now he's also apparently in that same prison that Epstein was in prior to his apparent suicide. That Diddy is Sean Combs is in. And so we're going to just wrap this up and say, why aren't these lists, why haven't they been released yet? Are there people on these lists that were at these parties, that were at this Epstein Island, that know information about the JFK assassination? So right there's three big topics. You have the assassination of the president, John F. Kennedy. Do we know the truth or don't we know the truth? Apparently, there's more to the truth that we haven't been told. You have the Epstein saga. That list hasn't been released. The documents about the JFK assassination haven't been released, still classified. Mike Pompeo, again, pushed Trump last time in office not to release those documents. Apparently now things might be a little bit different. So we shall see. And we have Diddy with his parties of taking advantage of sexual crimes against individuals, minors, being promised music deals, all kinds of things, access. And so some people go, oh, wow, I get to meet this person. And then they go, and then things potentially or allegedly occur. So we're talking about this because it needs to be talked about. It needs to be shared. So the information, again, just to wrap up, information on the JFK assassination, will it be released? Will it be declassified? We shall see. And it may be declassified by the time our episode comes out. The Epstein, we have former President Clinton, photograph there. We have the Diddy parties and the lists and what occurred. We have the assassination attempts against Donald Trump. Are we being and have we been fed lies, or have we been have you been transparent with us? So these 3 episodes about people in power, about sex crimes, about people in power. We just thank you for joining us on these 3 episodes, this 3-part series. This concludes this 3-part series. Tune in next time for another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show and podcast. I'm Justin Allen Hayes. Please be a voice for you or somebody in need.